What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing a triple lion theme team with Solgaleo, Pyroar and Duskmane Necrozma. And this is a theme team that I've been wanting to do for quite a while, from before Necrozma was even in Pokemon Go, as I was just going to use Luxray as the third lion, but we have a new toy to play with, so I figured I'd give Necrozma a try. Now initially I ran this as an ABB style team with Pyroar in the lead, but I saw so many water types, as it is pretty much the most common typing in both the Great and the Ultra League, and switching into Solgaleo didn't really help either because it also has a fire type fast move. So in the end I decided to just lead with Solgaleo, soft lose most of the lead matchups, but with a few debuffs from Psychic Fangs I could maybe set up a nice farm down for one of my two Pokemon in the back. Now I wanted to run double Solar Beam, but again I just can't afford to waste any charge TMs right now going back and forth between like Iron Head and Flamethrower, so I just settled for the moveset that my Solgaleo started with. Now this team obviously didn't perform particularly well, but some of the wins were absolutely insane. So with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Out of the Great League, Ultra League and Master League, which league is your favourite and what is the main reason as to why you prefer it over the other two? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, heading into the first battle here, we Solgaleo into a Giratina. Now this is not a good matchup for me. I did mention that I did just play out most lead matchups even when we were going to lose, but here I tried to catch like a Shadow Force or something, I don't know, but either way it doesn't work out. They go for an Ancient Power, definitely not ideal, but they swap into Poliwrath, and do they know about the Solar Beam coverage? We're full sending it here and it one-shots the Poliwrath. They had no clue, and now we're able to flip switch advantage. They come back in with Giratina and they are panicking. They could have just gone for a full Shadow Claw farm down, but instead they want to get rid of the Pyroar as soon as possible, throwing a charge move. We can now come back in with Solgaleo, and we realise they're running Dragon Claw and Ancient Power, so we don't have to worry about the charge moves anymore, and they even end up shielding a Psychic Fang. So this opponent is in shambles right now. We go for the Iron Head, landing it, dealing big damage. We're going to swap into Necrozma, and they've got a Muck in the back, so no point baiting here. Gonna full send the Sunsteel Strike. Sunsteel Strike connects, and it nearly one-shots them. The opponent just stops attacking there, realizing they're about to get farmed down, and so they just concede the match. So GG's to opponent there. Into the next battle, we see a Shadow Nidoqueen in the lead. So this is pretty good for me. Of course, Earth Power going to do a lot of damage. They're probably going to bait with a Poison Fang, but I think I will just play it safe anyways. We go for a Psychic Fangs there. At this point, definitely just going to shield the first charge move. They bait with the Poison Fang, but that's okay. We easily outpace them here, and the opponent doesn't even farm up to a potential Earth Power here. So going to no shield once again, fine with me, but they're going to swap into Feraligatr. Now this is a little bit of an issue here because, of course, normally I'd be able to stay in this matchup, but because I'm double debuffed in my defense, they can go for a huge Shadow Claw farm down. So instead, we land both Psychic Fangs. I've put them into range here. If they don't get the new mechanic or damage registration error, I should be able to take them out with the next Incinerate, and we get the farm down there. We are down 2 shields, but they come in with Annihilate. Now, things are looking okay for us, but it kind of depends. If the opponent goes for a full counter farm down, we could be in trouble, but the opponent lets the first move go through. We're going to throw off the next Flame Charge, and the opponent is going to throw the energy anyway, so fine with me. The opponent goes for a Night Sash, and that Incinerate damage that was boosted actually does connect up against Annihilate, and that's huge for me because now we can come in with our Necrozma, go for the Shadow Claw farm down, and they're in range where we can just go for a Shadow Claw farm down up against the Annihilate, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, great lead for us. Well, at least on paper, we're going to resist everything from Cresselia, but because we got a non-stab fast move, and Iron Head isn't the best charge move either, it's actually a lot closer than you might think. They're going to go for a Moonblast. Luckily, no debuff for us, but we're going to go and fire off an Iron Head. Basically, what I'm doing is throwing as late as possible, so just in case the opponent does try and swap out of this matchup, I've always got an Iron Head or a Psychic Fangs to throw into whatever they come in with. So once again, going to farm 2 near back-to-back charge moves before going for the Iron Head. Iron Head does connect. It will put them into Fire Spin farm down range, but it will be very close. Can we make it to the full Fire Spin farm down before they make it to the next charge move? And yes, we are just about able to do so. And let's see what the opponent wants to do here. They're going to come in with Annihilate, so I'm going straight for Psychic Fangs here. I'm not certain if I would live 2 more counters, so we're just going to throw the next one straight away. Not even going to bother throwing a fast move. Psychic Fangs, number 2, does connect. We swap into Necrozma, but they've got Greninja in the back, and this is one of the worst core breakers to the entire team. There's literally nothing we can do here, and we're just going to go and shield this up, go for a Dark Pulse. Maybe I should have let the first Night Sash go through, but either way, they will be able to significantly outpace me. Going to throw the next charge move just before we get there, and Night Slash takes out Necrozma from that range. That is very bad for me. We are now going to come in with the Pyro, and unless I make a catch here, I just can't see us winning this game. And unfortunately, because I'm running Incinerate, it is very difficult to make catches, but we're going to try it anyways. We wait, and we do make the catch, but I don't think it matters as they're so spammy. They're going to make it to the next charge move in just 3 water shurikens. So I'm going to go for the flame charge here. I need them to no shield, but they shield it up, and they can outpace me to the next charge move. And of course, Hydro Cannon takes out the Pyro, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's to up over there. Into next game, we see Clefable in the lead, so this is a great lead matchup. Once again, they're going to sway. Oh, wow, I can't even talk. Once again, they're going to safe swap into a Feraligatr, and they do outpace me to the first charge move, which definitely isn't ideal. I'm going to go for 1 Fire Spin, go for the Psychic Fangs, throwing on good timing there, and this will mean that I can make it to another Psychic Fangs, throwing on the CMP tie, and we actually win CMP. So this is actually good for me because I've got 3 Pokemon that can beat that Clefable, so switch advantage doesn't really matter, but because we put them into range where we can actually come in with the Pyro and go for a full Incinerate farm down, I'm taking very little damage from the Shadow Claws here, so pretty good for me. And they're going to come in with a Giratina. Now, of course, this isn't ideal because they are going to resist everything we can possibly throw, but we go for a Flame Charge, and we're just going to stay in this matchup, just keep on ramping up our attack here. Eventually, they will have to start shielding, otherwise I will be able to take out Giratina with just resisted moves. So, going to go and fire off another Flame Charge there. Flame Charge gets them pretty low, honestly, and the next Flame Charge might even get the KO here. So let's see. They go for the Dragon Claw. We're going to go for the Flame Charge straight away. I think they are 1 or 2 away from the next charge move. Flame Charge actually doesn't quite take them out there, so we go for the Snipe with Necrozma, and this should be a pretty straightforward game here. All I have to do is not bait, just go straight for the Sunsteel Strikes, and we should be fine. They go for Moonblast, and actually I'm panicking. That does way more damage than I was expecting. We're now going to bait with a Dark Pulse, and Dark Pulse is unshielded by the opponent. Really good call there, realizing their win condition was calling a bait, and now this is not great for us. At this point, I have to just no shield this and hope that my Pyro can somehow fast move farm them down. So they actually don't take us out there with the Moonblast. The Meteor Mash, but we come in with the Pyro, going to shield this up, and I realize 2 more Incinerates probably don't KO, so unless they are 5 away, I should be able to go for a Flame Charge, go for 2 Incinerates here, and I am just barely able to get the Incinerate farm down up against Clefable to take that game. So GG's to opponent there, but that is definitely why you don't bait, because we could have just won that game so easily going for the Sunsteel Strike. But anyways, into the next battle, and this is definitely a matchup where if I was running Solar Beam, you best be believing that I'm full sending it, but unfortunately I'm not running it. What I do though is farm up to a potential Solar Beam, but then I don't get a shield there, so not ideal. Gonna fire off the Iron Head here. Iron Head is gonna be no shielded. We get the Fire Spin farm down, but they come in with Typhlosion, and this is awful for me. The team is pretty weak to fire in general. They're gonna come in with a Alolan Muck, and I do farm to 100 energy. Gonna fire off the Flame Charge, hopefully grab a shield with the first one, but they do correctly no shield there. I'm just gonna fire off the next one straight away as I realize they are close to a charge move. We do get the shield this time around. And here, honestly, I'd prefer if they take me out, but the opponent goes for an Acid Spray there, which means we get them into 1 Shadow Claw farm down range, which means I'm not getting enough energy. I'm also probably going to have to shield this. Nope, never mind. I'm going to no shield. The Dark Pulse does so much damage. We're going to go for 1 extra Shadow Claw, then swap into Solgaleo. I need to go for Psychic Fangs here, drop their defense, but the opponent does correctly no shield there, and at this point, it's game over. I need to call a Thunder Punch bait, but they full send the Blast Burn. I'm not making it to another charge move anyways. They get the Incinerate farm down, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see Solgaleo in the lead, and we're going to go up against an Ampharos, and we are just going to no-shield the first move. It's going to be a Brutal Swing most likely, and that does quite a lot of damage, but I can make it to 2 Psychic Fangs just before they make it to the next charge move, since they did throw straight away on alignment, and this Psychic Fangs will get them fairly low, so I don't mind soft losing this lead. As I mentioned, they will have to throw a charge move, or never mind, they're going to swap into Giratina, so we're going to come in with Pyro. Again, not ideal for me in the slightest. We've only got resisted moves to throw, but likewise I'm also taking very little damage from the Shadow Claws here, so I think what I'm going to do is wait for them to throw 2 charge moves, then just bank all of this energy, swap into my Necrozma, and now we're in a fairly even situation. But unfortunately, again, they can just go for these Shadow Sneaks. They will outpace me before I make it to Dark Pulses, so honestly not a good position to be in whatsoever. We're going to fire for Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse is going to be shielded by the Giratina. At this point, I kind of have to shield this, but remember, Ampharos does have a charge move already loaded, and they're able to get the snipe there. Perfect timing, just as we're making it to the Dark Pulse. Brutal Swing gets the KO. We get the Incinerate farm down, but it's not going to help me that much, as we still got a Giratina to take care of. And we're going to go and fire off the Flame Charge. Flame Charge, still not going to do much damage here. The opponent no shields the first move. We're going to go for one extra Incinerate, go for another Flame Charge, but they can just safely shield this up. We're not even going to find out what's in the back. They can make it to a charge move, and Dragon Claw will, of course, take out the Pyro, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. So GG's to opponent there, and we are going to see, I forgot to cut that out for some reason, but into the next battle, we're going to see a Solgaleo up against a Poliwrath. So obviously, not that great for us because we are running Fire Spin as the fast move. They're actually just going to go straight for an Icy Wind, which is fine. I can live this pretty comfortably as well. We're now going to go for one Fire Spin, go for the Psychic Fangs here, but of course, because they've dropped my attack, that Psychic Fangs doesn't do that much damage. The next Psychic Fangs obviously going to do slightly more damage as we drop their defense, but still not enough to get the KO, and they can just fire off another charge move. So at this point, going to let Solgaleo go down. They actually go for another Icy Wind there. So instead, we try to swap and snipe with our Necrozma. The opponent comes in with Shadow Drapion, but they don't even farm up to a crunch. I don't know what they're thinking there, but we can obviously tank an Aqua Tail. We're now going to full send the Sunsteel Strike, and the opponent no shields. It one-shots the Shadow Drapion with 2 shields still in play. And if this is going to be the Jamie Finn team with the double poison dark shadow backline there, then we should be looking good. This time, of course, going to go for a Dark Pulse bait because we did just land a Sunsteel Strike and get the full nuke. So now I'm going to shield up the crunch, going to swap into my Pyro. The opponent swaps back into Poliwrath, but we get a full Incinerate farm down, and that's going to be game over. I can just farm 2 back-to-back Flame Charges. Well, I'm going to go for 1 Incinerate, then throw the charge move, grab that final shield, go for a second Flame Charge, and now we're boosted from this range. This should be enough damage to get the KO up against the Shadow Skuntank, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next battle, we see a Tapu Fini in the lead. So another matchup where having Solar Beam would be so cool, but unfortunately not running it. So instead, once again, just going to overfarm massively here as they go for a Surf. I'm going to let that go through. I'm going to keep on overfarming and now finally throw the charge move here. We go for the Psychic Fangs, and Psychic Fangs goes unshielded as well. So if I was running Solar Beam, I would have just taken out this Tapu Fini here. But instead, because we're not running it, we go for Psychic Fangs, then the Iron Head, and we do put them fairly low into range, where we can just Shadow Claw farm them down, hopefully before they make it to a Surf, and we do get there in time. But they're going to come in with Ampharos, and unfortunately, one of the worst things about Duskmane Necrozma is just Sunsteel Strike is resisted by so many different typings, and so many common typings as well. The Electric typing, Fire typing, Water, and Steel all resist Steel type moves, which is definitely not ideal for us because, you know, the other form of Necrozma, Ghost, is resisted by very few typings, just Dark and normal type Pokemon, so just coverage overall is very good, but unfortunately, the Steel typing just doesn't have a very good offensive coverage there. But either way, we're going to shield up the Brave Bird, and now I'm going to go for a bait with Dark Pulse. Even though it's resisted, Sunsteel Strike does do more damage, but the opponent just no shields anyways, and yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to win this game unless for whatever reason they choose not to shield this move. But of course, they shield up the Dark Pulse, and we end up losing that game there. But GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see Empoleon in the lead. So this is fine with me. I'm just going to stay in here, at least initially. Tank the Hydro Cannon as we can tank it reasonably well. I think Solgaleo is probably one of the bulkier Pokemon on this team. It's not bulky, but it is bulkier than the rest. And they're actually going to swap into a Cresselia. So this is fine with me. I'm going to go and fire off the Iron Head, and then going to try and swap and catch the move here. But we stutter just as we go for the catch. Doesn't matter too much because I should still live a Grass Knot, but definitely annoying. We're now going to bank a little bit more energy, swap into my Necrozma, and again, this is a super hard wall matchup here. They go for a Moonblast, doesn't do much damage, but I am going to lose track of their energy, so they make it to another charge move, should just be a Grass Knot, so at this point I think I'm just going to farm to 100 energy, go for a Dark Pulse here. I'm going to undercharge this just to try and get slightly extra farm, but they swap out anyways, and again, I lose track of their energy. I don't know what's going on in this battle, but I am just very bad at counting right now, apparently. So we're going to go for another Dark Pulse here. Dark Pulse grabs a shield, and we're now going to throw the next charge move on the CMP tie, so much better timing this time from me. As we go for the Dark Pulse, grab the final shield here. At this point, definitely just going to let the Necrozma go down. They go for a Drill Peck, and they actually undercharge that, so very nice play. We come in with the Pyro, and I'm just going for a full Incinerate farm down, and hopefully surely there should be something else in the back that we can beat with the Pyro, and there it is, it's a Sylveon. We can go straight for Flame Charge. I will be able to make it to a second Flame Charge before they even make it to a charge move, so the opponent's just going to concede the match there. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see Ampharos in the lead. So once again, not ideal for me because they are going to be running Brutal Swing. But if they throw straight away, which they do once again, then of course, I can actually outpace them to the back-to-back Psychic Fangs. And we've seen already, this won't be enough damage to get the KO, but it does force them to either swap out of this matchup or throw a charge move. Otherwise, I think I would actually be able to go for a full Fire Spin farm down. So let's see, we go for the Psychic Fangs. We actually grab a shield there, and they're still going to throw a charge move anyways. So definitely fine with me. They go for the Brutal Swing. We can come in with the Pyro. They are debuffed, but unfortunately, Incinerate's still not quite doing enough damage to get the full fast move farm down, but eventually we do get that farm down. We come out with a Flame Charge loaded, and they're going to come in with a Togekiss. So I'm going straight for the Flame Charge here. Flame Charge goes unshielded. They realize they can tank that reasonably well. We make it to Flame Charge number 2, and then I'm going to swap straight away into my Necrozma. They let that go through, but they've actually got Skeledirge in the back, and this is so painful because Pyro is literally, apart from Litleo, the only Pokemon that can resist every single move that Skeledirge can throw, or at least the typical moveset of Incinerate, Disarming Voice, and Shadow Ball. And yet we are going to end up losing to it as we don't live the Incinerate damage. We come back in with the Pyro. I'm going to shield this up here, and I will be able to make it to a Flame Charge, but because we swapped out after we were double boosted, from this range, we're not boosted, and it doesn't get the KO. And definitely from this range, whatever they throw, even a Shadow Ball or Disarming Voice, gonna get the KO up against my Pyro, and we end up losing that game. Into next battle, we see Aurorus in the lead, so this is a great lead matchup for us, of course. Ironhead going to hit for double super effective damage, and the opponent's going to swap, make a catch, but they catch it onto Cresselia once again. So once again, this is a great matchup for us. I'm actually going to stay in, probably going to farm to 100 energy before swapping out here, because I know I can tank anything they throw here. The opponent's going to go for a Future Sight, which is double resisted, definitely not the right play there. We are going to continue to overfarm, and we are at 100 energy, or pretty much thereabouts, so going to let the next move go through, swapping into our Necrozma, and again we can just sponge this energy for days. Gonna no shield once again as the opponent gonna go for a Moonblast this time around, so definitely is the correct call there. But I'm gonna farm to nearly 100 energy, go for a Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse obviously gonna take out Cresselia from that range. They come back in with the Aurorus, and I'm going straight for the Sunsteel Strike here. Sunsteel Strike would easily one-shot Aurorus, but they're going to use their shield there. At this point, happy to no shield. We've got 100 energy on Solgaleo. They actually go for a Weather Ball bait, which is fine with me, and we're still able to make it to a Sunsteel Strike, which is actually pretty big for me because my Pokemon aren't going to do particularly well up against Tapu Fini, but at this point I can just no-shield this. The opponent going to go for a Surf, which we do hang on to. We can go for the Incinerate farm down, and actually we've got an opportunity to go for a Solar Beam here, so definitely going to take it. Shield up the Weather Ball, go straight for the Solar Beam, and of course, from this range, Solar Beam gets the one-shot up against Aurorus, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we're going to see Pyro in the lead. So this is one of the first battles I did with this team when I was running it as an AVP style team, and actually a great lead for us. I'm going to choose to overfarm here. I realized if they go for a Focus Blast straight away, then actually I can get a full Incinerate in for free, and this energy is usually very helpful up against pretty much anything other than a Fire type, which unfortunately is going to resist both the Flame Charge and the Solar Beam and the Incinerate as well, actually. But either way, just going to fire off these Flame Charges. I can't really afford to shield this. If they go for a Brave Bird, then actually I can probably Shadow Claw farm them down with my Pokemon in the back, but I'm just barely able to make it to the Flame Charge. I maybe should have just undercharged this, because now this Registeel is going to get a slight energy advantage, and whilst it's not really that big, unfortunately, it's not ideal for me in the slightest. So we are going to come in with Solgaleo here. Unfortunately, Fire Spins don't do that much damage up against an Ultra League Registeel, especially when they're non-stab on our Solgaleo. But I'm going to no-shield as they go for a Zap Cannon. We are going to continue to overfarm. I should have just gone for an Iron Head here, because this will not get the KO. We go for Psychic Fangs, they no-shield it, and then they swap into a Heliolisk, and this is pretty bad because, of course, we've got Necrozma running Shadow Claw with the fast move, so they're going to double resist that. We can go for back-to-back Psychic Fangs. We do at least grab a shield there, but it's going to be game over as they've still got a shield in play, so I'm going to have to just call a bait here, and they full send the Thunderbolt. That does big damage. I'm firing off the Dark Pulse just for the sake of it, but of course, they can safely shield this up, then go for a full Volt Switch farm down up against my Solgaleo here, and they're able to take that game. So GG's to up there, into the next game we see Drapion in the lead. So of course, if they're running Aqua Tail, then so be it. But if they're not, then this should be an okayish matchup for us. We're going to no-shield the first move as the opponent goes for the crunch there. So pretty good indication that they're not running Aqua Tail. I'm going to go for a Flame Charge here, and if this does connect, I probably will shield and then just commit to a full Incinerate farm down, as I realized I'm going to come out with quite a lot of energy and a boosted Pyro. So like I mentioned earlier, up against anything other than like a Fire type or maybe a Dragon type, this energy is going to be very useful, especially when the opponent can't even commit to a full Shadow Claw farm down, as I am a normal type Pokemon. So making it to back-to-back Flame Charges, going to grab both shields from Golisopod, and now I'm going to swap into my Solgaleo, because at that point they probably would have got that Shadow Claw farm down. They go for an Airy Lace bait, which is so unnecessary. I'm going to fire off the Psycho Fangs here. Psycho Fangs not going to do too much damage, but it will put them into farm down range. Once again, just going to let this move go through. The opponent goes for Liquidation this time around, but we're still able to make it to a Psycho Fangs, and of course from this range it will get the KO. And they come in with a Kyurem, so this is definitely not a matchup you'd expect to see in the Ultra League. You definitely might expect to see this in the Open Master League though. But either way, I shield up the Glaciate there, realizing that even if they debuff me, Sun Steel Strike will be enough damage to easily one-shot the Kyurem there, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to open there. Into the next game, we're going to see a Pidgeot in the lead. They're going to say swap into Annihilate, and this might very well be a double fighting team in the back here. So going to shield up, they go for an Ice Punch bait, which is very unfortunate for me. But we're now going to fire off a Dark Pulse here. Dark Pulse probably will be enough damage to get the KO here. So we grab a shield, and they do make it to another charge move. At this point, I can't really afford to double shield. So instead, going to let it go through. It is the Shadow Ball, which is definitely unfortunate there. But you can see the counter damage was doing more than the Shadow Claw damage up against the Annihilate, which was of course super effective. We come in with Pyro there just because I realized I would resist all the charge moves they could possibly throw, and so they actually don't even throw anything at all, but they're going to come in with a Lucario, and this is definitely winnable for us, but we are going to not deal as much damage with those fire spins as I was maybe expecting to deal. So we're going to shield this up here as the opponent goes for a Thunder Punch. I'm expecting them to swap out of this matchup, but they don't swap. They make it to another charge move. At this point, I probably should have just thrown a Psychic Fangs there, because now Pidgeot could take us out even with like a a resisted Feather Dance there. So not ideal for me in the slightest. Just going to keep on spamming these Psychic Fangs. We go for the second one there. We make it to a third Psychic Fangs here, and I just need this to KO. Psychic Fangs doesn't quite get the KO, but we actually get the Fire Spin farm down. They come back in with Lucario, but unfortunately Fire Spin doesn't get the KO, whilst the Force Pump does take us out there, and we do end up losing that game. But GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Unnovan Stunfisk in the lead. They throw on very poor timing there, going straight for the Mud Bomb, which means I'm going to be able to make it to a Solar Beam. We're full sending it, and we get the one shot up against the Stunfisk. But they come in with an XL Pelipper, which is cool to see. But what is definitely not cool to see is an XL Umbreon up against my double Psychic backline. Going to go for the Iron Head there. Maybe I could have gone for a Psychic Fangs first and then thrown the Iron Head. And maybe I could have also shielded at least once in this matchup here, because they do unfortunately outpace me here. So definitely going to go down to the foul play. We can come in with the Pyro, but they're actually still going to be able to outpace me to the next charge as we full send a Solar Beam, wasting all of our energy in the lead matchup there. So going to shield this. If the opponent swaps now into Pelipper, they will make it to another charge move. So very good snipe from the opponent there, realizing I'd be locked in with the Incinerate animation there. And now we swap into our Necrozma, but this is pretty much game over. You can see Weather Balls not going to do too much damage here. We are resisting the wing attack damage, but they've already got me into the yellow health range. So by the time they land the next Weather Ball, we're pretty much going to be in farm down range for them. We're going to go for that Dark Pulse there. Dark Pulse grabs a shield. We will just barely make it to another Dark Pulse here, but it's not really going to help me all that much. Dark Pulse is going to be shielded. Again, we're just going to fire off the Solar Beam straight away here. Solar Beam will be enough to get the KO up against the Pelipper, but again, Umbreon will just be able to outpace me to the charge move here, and of course from this range, anything will KO. Foul play takes out the Pyro, and unfortunately we do lose that game. So GG's to open there. Apologies if you could hear like an airplane going off in the background. I do live very close to an RAF base, so occasionally that does happen. But anyways, into the next battle, we see a Walrein in the lead. For some reason, they bait there, so I'm just going to go and full send the Solar Beam and unfortunately it does get shielded by the opponent there. But either way, they have farmed up to a potential Earthquake this time around, so definitely gonna play it safe here. We shield up the Earthquake. I could have overfarmed more than I did here, but either way, gonna fire off the Flame Charge. Flame Charge will be no shielded. We get the KO. They come in with Tapu Fini, and I'm not quite gonna make it to a Solar Beam, so instead, gonna fire off the Flame Charge here, but they've already seen the Solar Beam, so they do end up shielding, and that's fine with me. We're gonna come in with Solgaleo here, just because I think it is a slightly bulkier than Necrozma, so I'm just gonna sponge this energy essentially as they go for a Surf there. I'm actually going to let them throw the next Charge Move as well. Maybe should have gone for a Psychic Fangs here, but either way, gonna let the Surf go through, then swap into my Necrozma, hoping that we can sweep in the end game with this Pokemon. So definitely going to shield here. Surf going to do quite a lot of damage up against Necrozma. We are going to overfarm here, going for the Sunsteel Strike. I think Dark Pulse resisted, probably wouldn't have got the KO there. Sunsteel Strike definitely does get the KO, and they've got Cresselia in the back, so we should be looking fine right now. I'm going to throw on the CMP tie here. Sunsteel Strike, even though it is neutral damage, going to do a lot more damage than a Dark Pulse. Well, actually, slightly more damage than a Dark Pulse. They go for the Moonblast, we barely hang on, they drop our attack, but it doesn't really matter. I'm once again going to commit to a Sunsteel Strike, and of course, from this range, even with a debuff, it gets the KO up against Cresselia, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to open their Internet's battle. See a Shadow Tentacruel in the lead, so definitely not ideal for me. Gonna save swap into my Solgaleo, and I'm just gonna go straight for a Psychic Fangs, although this isn't gonna do that much damage, so they can probably just no-shield this. They do no-shield this, we drop their defense, but they can probably just fire off a Charge Move and then swap straight away into something else, and they're gonna swap into a Tapu Fini, so yeah, definitely not a great position to be in. We're gonna go for another Psychic Fangs here. Psychic Fangs, not gonna do much damage, but we will make it to another Psychic Fangs up against this Tapu Fini, which is good, but they've got two water types. Pyroar has literally no play whatsoever, so gonna come in with my Necrozma, and I'm randomly gonna swap, hoping they go for a Nature's Madness here, and the opponent does go for the Nature's Madness, so we catch a resisted Charge Move onto my Pyroar, and they are double debuffed in their defense, so these Incinerates are chunking. They have to throw a Surf here to get rid of us. Hopefully we get the Shadow Claw farm down, but no, they make it to a last second Charge Move, and that is really painful. We have to shield up the Surf there. Let's see, the opponent's gonna come back in with their Shadow Tentacruel. Again, gonna go for the Dark Pulse here. Dark Pulse gonna do slightly less damage, but it puts them into Shadow Claw farm down range, and what do they have in the back? They've got a Shadow Venusaur, so this might be playable here. It kind of just depends if we can make it to 3 charge moves. We go for the Dark Pulse, grab a shield from the Shadow Venusaur, and if it is overfarming, we realise here that we can win CMP up against the Shadow Venusaur. We grab the final shield, and we are 2 away from the next charge move. I do believe they're 2 away from the Frenzy Plant, and we win CMP, but does this KO? It's non-snap, it's a Dark Pulse, and it doesn't get the KO there. Unfortunately, Venusaur hanging on pretty well there, and they go for a Frenzy Plant, of course, even resisted. That takes us out, and we do unfortunately lose that game. So that's gonna be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.